Hi, I'm Sonja Grace, mystic and healer, and I'm very honored to introduce world-renowned expert on energy medicine, Donna Eden. Welcome, Donna.
Oh, I'm really glad to be here, Sonja.
Donna, I want to ask you, how did this begin for you? Your childhood? What was your relationship to energy?
Yeah, well, first of all, I never knew it was unusual. It was the world I lived in, and my mother always saw energy. So I have a brother and sister who aren't in my line of work at all. My brother is a truck driver, and my sister is a poet, but they both see energy because my mother kept it alive. And I really do believe that all children can see when they're born. But there is so much to learn that first year of life that if nobody keeps it alive, it goes dormant. And so it didn't go dormant in our lives. And so it was always that kind of conversation. What color do you see around that person? That kind of thing.
What is it like for you when you're working on people and you're experiencing someone else's energy mixing with your own energy? How do you deal with that? What do you do?
Oh, well, what I do is something different than what I was taught. What I was taught was to put a white light around you and just kind of, it protects you from picking up the other person's stuff. But I found that it never worked for me. So I learned over time to let the energy come on into me and then move on through. And so it kept me really clarifying constantly, and it was really good. And I also knew precisely what was going on in them.
Wow, that's beautiful. What happened for you in your life that really connected you to energy and energy work, energy medicine?
Well, all my life, actually from that first week of life, I had an illness that burned off my capacity to make enzymes. So I couldn't process food very well. And I had low blood sugar as a little girl. And then as I got older, I was allergic to everything because I couldn't process foods. By the time I was 16, I had multiple sclerosis. And it just kept getting worse and worse, and I couldn't eat food. And while my mother was a real nutritionist, I couldn't use nutrition to get well by because no food really worked inside my body. And I just kept getting sicker and sicker. And by the time I was 27, all my organs were breaking down. And I had a heart attack at 27. I went into really severe asthma. I couldn't step out of my house without having an asthma attack. And by the time I was between 29 and 31, I wasn't walking hardly at all. And sometimes I didn't walk for days. I couldn't make my legs work. And as it got really bad, my mouth sometimes wouldn't work. I couldn't form words. And I went to see 5 different specialists who said I wasn't going to live. And I can't explain it. I can only say this was something hit me from another place, because I left that office when that 5th doctor said I wasn't going to live much more than maybe a year. I left, and some joy came over me. I thought, oh, I'll never go to Western medicine again. I've just been given a gift. I'm going to heal myself. Of course I'm going to heal myself. And I had been raised that the body always knows how to heal itself. You just have to find your way through that maze. And I knew that my maze was energy. That was about the only thing I really knew in this world. And so I went home that day, and the first thing I did was I laid one hand right at the bottom of my hips and the other hand over my knee. And I held there for about 3 minutes, and I realized that it took only about 3 minutes before that energy to begin to connect up. And from there, I just kept going all over my body. And I remember in 7 weeks, I'd lost my allergies to wheats and grains, and I had my first slice of bread because I'd never been able to eat it. I would end up in a coma when I was growing up if I ate the wrong thing. So I absolutely no reaction. And then it just kept going that way. The hardest thing for me as I was as I was moving through different food groups, the hardest food group was vegetables. Anything that grew out of the ground made me sick. And it didn't matter that it was organic. And so, but in time, I had no more allergies. And in time, I was walking. In time, and I just wanted to share it with everybody I knew. You know, it's like, oh my God, there's so much you can do for yourself to get well. So I wanted to empower the world. And that's how it all began.
And that's so powerful to talk about a disease like MS and allergies and asthma and all of these things that afflict so many people, and be able to not only cure yourself, learn to heal yourself, but then to teach others how to do that.
Yes.
That's really incredibly powerful, and I feel that you have some other connection here as well, and that is where you hail from, where you come from. And I really feel it. There's, Pleiadians standing behind you right now, and it's so powerful. I mean, I feel like your whole experience and what you're telling me is truly about you integrating into human form and trying to be here as a human.
Whoa, Sonja, I mean, that's not something I often talk about because it makes you seem very weird when you say things like that, or it's an ego that's saying it. But I've never felt like I was from Earth, but I love it here. I love it here so much, but I'm really having to learn how to be here because it's not my natural thing, to be here. So thank you for saying that.
Yes, I mean, I just, it's almost like, even though it's the daytime sky right now, where Pleiades is in the sky, it's completely lit up. I can see it shining through to you. It's so strong. Your connection to that place is so strong. And I know that you are here, you were brought here for a reason, to help people. And this is obviously why. This is your story. That integration, there's so many children being born today who are starseeds. They're from other places, and your work is helping them.
Yes, yes. I have a grandson who's 5 years old, and I know he's much older than me from another place, and he came here knowing things, and it's really quite wonderful to experience and to affirm. And I also believe that I am learning about how to be here.
What does the energy field and the energy in the body have to do with our organs and our skin and every part of the human experience? What does that really mean that people could understand better what energy is?
Well, this is the truth. Energy is all there is. And Einstein said that over 100 years ago, and we gave him all the awards for having said that, and then we left him behind, Nobody paid much attention until these last 20 or 20 years, maybe. So every organ, every cell in your body is made up of energy. Cells are little batteries with a north and south side. I mean, everything is energy. And when it congeals, when that energy congeals, it becomes more solid. But I really do feel that energy is your body's best medicine. It's the life force. Energy is the life force with an intelligence that far surpasses our intellects. I mean, energy already knows how to heal you. It's what runs through your body, and it streams and circles and figure eights all through you. And I work with at least 9 energy systems in the body, and they all interact with one another. And if you can interact with energy before it becomes a disease, you don't have to have that disease, because it is the forerunner to everything that goes wrong with you, whether it's on the emotional plane, the mental plane, the physical plane. It is everything. And if you wait until it becomes a disease, it's a little harder, but you can still unwind it energetically. And it's very important to remember that the body already knows how to heal you.
That's beautiful. And that big space around us, the auric field, how does that play into these energy systems?
Well, the aura, with all of its bands and fields, I always see the aura as your own personal spacesuit. A spacesuit to allow you to be here on planet Earth. It's just like the Earth has its own aura. It's
Stratosphere.
a stratosphere, yes. And so just like the Earth has that, we have our own personal fields, and they allow you to interact with the Earth, with each other, with animals, with everything. And your aura protects you, and it's also a bridge to other people's energy fields. And so some people are very good at working with the aura so they can pick up on your vibrations or pick up on something that's going on about you that you might not have even known. It might have been at another level. That's why they can do psychic readings on you. That's one of the ways of doing psychic readings.
Do you find yourself that because of all of the work that you do as an energy medicine person, do you find yourself reading or feeling people's energy well before you've walked into the room?
Oh, yes. And I also had to, I feel, it's not just reading, I feel energy long before I see it. And I really had to learn how to not let that overwhelm me and take me over. Like, discernment has been something that I've had to learn, because I could pick up on the energy, feel it, see it, that if I saw that they were suffering with something, that was a louder truth to me than other truths going on. So that maybe I would see that, this is not somebody for me to interact with. I would totally overcome that and overlook that, because I would be interested in how to heal them. And so, but I can get really thrown off by energies that they were going through.
Exactly. No, I understand that, because when I look at people, I tend to look at them on a soul level.
Yes.
So I'm interacting with them at that soul level.
Absolutely. And that's my favorite thing, that soul connection.
That's very true. And when you find yourself working with energy and helping people undo whatever has been done, do you factor karma in? Do you see things karmically for people?
Let's see. That's a very big question. And sometimes yes, and sometimes no. Sometimes I see that they have manifested so much physically and in their lives. I just want to unwind some of that energy so that then they can find themselves on karmically, how to deal with it. But sometimes they have stacked so many levels up that they need to unwind first. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because the immediate moment, this lifetime, this body, is where we are. This is the moment.
That's right.
But the karmic repercussions that we carry, the unresolved emotional wounds of the past, are also a part of that stacking up.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
One of the systems of energy that I work with is regression, and what I like to teach people to do who study with me is when they maybe a regression back into another time, to not just get the information, not just get the story, but heal that lifetime before they bring them back. And it's really rewarding. It's really rewarding. And so that when they come back here, they have really healed something that suddenly how they react on this plane and this time is very different. And it's just an automatic shift.
So Donna, tell me, the emotional body for many people has a great impact on the physical body. And I'd love to hear from you what your feeling is about the emotional body and where humanity's at today in our processing things and working through stuff.
Wow. Well, of course you can't separate the emotional from the body. You can't. I mean, chakras take in the emotions deep, 7 layers deep, and all your meridians take in the emotions. Everything in your body reflects and takes in and makes an imprint in who you are. And so I don't see it differently at all. I teach people how, especially when I have a beginning student, how to work with emotions, and they kind of separate things out for a while and then finally pull them all back in. But I found when I was starting to teach about emotions, I saw that, wow, cultures from all over the world already, I mean, had been doing this for thousands of years. And so the one that was the most natural for me, interestingly, were both the Chinese, the Celtic, and the Cherokee, because I found that I was doing something very similar to them. And they all, even though like the Chinese have 5 elements, I found I was working with 5 rhythms, which was much more like the Cherokee, but it was all the same thing. Very, very powerful.
Do you find that the organs in the body, the kidneys, the liver, the spleen, are affected by the emotions specifically?
Oh yes, specifically. Like kidneys, you can really find how fear is processed through the kidneys, how anger and being hard on yourself is processed through the liver. The heart chakra, there is a love there that is, it can be both personal and familial, like with your family, but there is a transpersonal love that you can feel with people that you've never met in your life. It's one of my favorite, you know, it's like, it's across the world. I know that happens for you, Sonja, of picking up something, or if I watch the news at night and see somebody suffering in another part of the world, you know, I can just go into that space and feel it and know it, and then turn off the TV and send love across the way. And I know it when somebody has picked it up. There's something else I work with called the Assemblage Point. And it sits either right in the heart chakra or slightly off. And the Assemblage Point, somebody just reminded me recently that Carlos Castaneda worked with the Assemblage Point. But it is an amazing energy. It is where energy assembles, okay? It assembles. And for a lot of people, when they are really hooked in to that energy, it's like their North Star, and it leads them. But people can really get disconnected and off center from that energy. The Assemblage Point is about perspective. So if they are holding their own perspective and they are in alignment also with an energy that might come from their guidance, their angels, from another place, they're downloading. Believe me, they are aligned and they are walking their walk, and they are, it is beautiful to watch. But there are times that perspective from other people, where sometimes it's fabulous because there is an alignment, and sometimes people so hunger to find a path that they can walk on, that they will adopt somebody else's perspective that doesn't quite align with their own. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
And so then it can filter in through their heart, and they can get off their path and they think it's theirs, but it really isn't. And sometimes when you fall in love, the Assemblage Point can be affected. And it's beautiful. But because you love that feeling, and it feels so good, that you might go down that path and then realize, where am I? What am I doing? But you were hooked into that in love space, and it really wasn't the person. And so there's a lot of things about that energy that I like to work with. And that's right on the heart chakra.
That's great. You know, what it makes me think of is so many people now in these times are awakening to a spiritual life, a spiritual path. But as you just described, many of them mistaken that feeling, that understanding of their spiritual path for, I'm meant to be a Reiki worker, I'm meant to be a healer, I'm meant to be a visionary. And yet they're actually awakening to a part of themselves that is truly a part of their being. And it is meant to be expressed in all aspects of life, not just in a particular area. Is that your experience?
That's making me cry. Yes. I mean, it is a joy, actually, to see so many people awakening. And I see it all over the world. And I have the great privilege of being able to travel all over the world. And sometimes I experience somebody who may not have a lot of education, or may not even know what it is they're talking about, but they are awakening, and I might just want to sit at their feet a little bit because they have something coming in from another place, and it's humbling and it's wonderful, and I really love it. And I could sit at my grandson's feet. I mean, and he knows things. It's like he was telling me he was seeing something the other day, and he said, this woman was saying, no, dear, that isn't really there. And he said to me as we walked away, well, she doesn't love them like I do, and so she can't see them. You know? Yes.
Wow, that's incredible. Yes. Yeah. That's incredible. And, you know, I want to say that I think the true essence of teaching is knowing how to also be the student.
Yes.
And I think that's a beautiful thing that you just said, because we are watching people awaken, and we're watching people become light workers. But I personally encourage a lot of these people to remember that energy of spiritualism that they're feeling needs to be taken into all aspects of life. If you're a plumber, it goes into your plumbing. If you're making my chai tea latte at Starbucks, it's going into my latte. You know, that this spiritualism really needs to be expressed in all aspects of life, not just in our industry.
It is absolutely true. Rilke had a great poem that I love, and I don't know if I can remember it all, but I'm going to try to get the essence of it. It's, if the angel deigns to come, it is not because of, and it was all this stuff. It wasn't because of this and this and this. Yeah. It is because you have become a beginner again. And then you embrace the angels because they're feeding whatever it is you're doing in life. It's like that angelic realm comes in and feeds you, whether you call it angels or not.
I would like to ask you about things that go on around the world, like disease, like famine, issues that are very hard hitting for people, not from the perspective of wanting to, you know, feel sad and frustrated that these things go on, but more from a perspective of hope. When something like Ebola breaks out and we're all afraid and that fear spreads worldwide, what is your feeling about that? How do you approach that?
Well, for two things, I think. One is that, I mean, it was incredible how fear spread around. It felt like the entire globe over Ebola, but I do think it is an old vibration that just came up again. And it's, you know, I'm going to shift it just slightly and then I'll come back to there. You know, I had multiple sclerosis, and there was, when I was going through it, one of the things that was hard for me was that there was a couple of books that came out at the time that said, that had the meaning of different diseases. And sometimes, well, multiple sclerosis was supposed to mean that you had, that you were hard-hearted. And I thought, oh my God, that isn't the truth. You know, people tend to want to have a meaning for this or a meaning for that. And so that for a healer to say that to me and to show me it in the book, Hard-Hearted, if anything, I've seen that people who have multiple sclerosis, there is a lesson to learn, but they often pick up. They actually have, it's the opposite. They feel so much, and they hook in, heart-wise with other people. There's always a learning, a lesson to learn by diseases, but it may not be at all what other people are saying it is. And I do know that every disease has its own vibration, its own vibratory rate, and even though I have not been around anybody with Ebola, I will tell you I've been around very old vibration diseases, and I am very sure, because I have been around people with old vibration diseases, and they might call it cancer. But cancer has many, many different vibrations. And I was around somebody who had a disease that I knew came up for her from the earth. And it was named cancer. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't cancer at all. And sometimes in the Western world we'll name it something. We'll name it. And because that somehow, if we can name it, then we have a handle on it. Right. But it's about an energy, and sometimes it's a universal energy, like when people who are loving and beautiful and they get a disease, it may not be even their own personal vibration, but it's a vibration that is universal. Mm-hmm. Am I making sense at all?
Absolutely.
And it's like I heard Dr. Oz say on his program the other day that energy medicine is the last great frontier in medicine. And it's because, if we can start dealing with it at a vibrational level, we can touch into everything. And yes, it comes through personal. I worked with a child who, again, because I haven't seen quite Ebola, but I have seen other old vibrations. This child was told that he had leukemia. And, it looked very different than leukemia to me. And anyway, the child's getting well now. But they had to take the child out of the country. And I saw that child out of the country because the child was going to be taken away from the parents because they wouldn't allow, the doctors, they already had a court order to have the child taken away from him because he wouldn't go through, they knew that wasn't the way to go and that they would lose their child. And now the child is in England and is getting very well. But it was an old vibration. It was and I think it was a vibration, perhaps of Ebola. Even on television, you can see the vibration of people. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like you can see. And in England, you can see people sink into the earth, and sometimes something like the plague, if they go down deep enough, in their own soul, in their own spirits, in their own vibration, then sometimes they can tap into a vibration that comes up right through the earth.
That's beautiful, because to me, that's the karmic links that we carry collectively. That's the energy that's coming up from the earth, because the earth stores things in her body just like we store things in our body. And so we tap into that, and it comes into us, and it connects with our karmic threads. And boom, there it is. It's born. And it's living again. I'd like to really bring up the one message that you might want to share with everyone that's watching today, and also really touch upon what hope is for you, for humanity, for the world. Share with us how you feel about that.
Well, I'd like to say that if there's one thing I have seen happen to everybody when they start realizing that they can be empowered to heal themselves, is that hope rises. I mean, it awakens in people, and it is so thrilling. This is the best thing in the whole world I could be doing, because I get to see that, experience that, and when hope rises, they heal themselves, they rise up out of their despair, they start moving mountains to have a better life for themselves and their children, their world. And I see it all over. I've seen women rise up more and more. I see women be empowered, and it's so thrilling. But it is all about hope. And what I would like to say, and I want to say it so that people really hear, you can heal yourself. You can heal yourself. And it's about learning the language that the body speaks in, which is energy. You learn that language. The body is user-friendly. And you will find that the older you get, the better you get. Life is better. And, you know, I am somebody whose body, whose energy, whose entire life until I was 31 could not adapt to this world. And and you can rise up out of it. I can promise. And it doesn't mean that you will always heal from every disease, I must say, because sometimes the body, I mean, it's the thickest energy field. And if the body hasn't found a way to unwind things, then maybe your body doesn't heal. But you will still get better. Your spirit can rise. Everything gets better. And for many people, they can rise up through their body, and their body will heal. So I'm all about hope, because I know it turns everything around.
Thank you so much for being here, Donna.
Oh, thank you, Sonja. I loved it.